Greetings everyone and welcome back at WWI Railways with me Elizabeth, and yes, today the keyword is Corgi. So coming back to Corgi models for my World War One theme, and yes, I prefer die-cast models to airfix models, although I do have an airfix set that I will have to build and paint myself. I will have no idea at this stage how that would turn out, but yes, with the connection of Corgi and Hornby, the choice wasn't difficult to make. And yes, Corgi actually do have a World War One tank that is in 1.76 scale, and I do believe that the omnibus of Corgi was also done in 1.76, although the actual size description basically comes down to approximate size of 1.72. I think they were aiming for 1.76 in general for the smaller model dioramas. And anyways, so when we go into this 4 series model of Corgi diecast centenary version, let's just delve into what inspired them to do the centenary 100th year celebration at the time. So that was all based on World War One, and it was a global war that involved more than 70 million military personnel from countries and alliances from all around the globe. The war began on the 28th of July 1914 and lasted for over 4 years. The war finally ending on the 11th November 1918 when the armistice between the Allies and Germany was signed. The war began after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and the heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary. This triggered an international diplomatic crisis, and within weeks various alliances were formed between different countries. World War I, often referred to as the Great War, is the 5th deadliest conflict to ever happen in the world, with an estimation of over 10 million deaths and another 20 million wounded. Despite it being a world war, the majority of battles and lives lost were in the trenches of Europe. During the 4 years of conflict, there were a number of technological advancements that took place. Machines entered the battleground for the first time in their masses. Vehicles such as tanks were used in ground battles, and existing vehicles such as buses were called upon to transport troops to and from the battlefield. In the later stages of the war, aircraft were used for ground attacks, bombing raids, and air-to-air combat. 2014 marked the 100th anniversary of the beginning of World War I. To commemorate the technological developments of military machinery, Corgi presented these 4 models to collect the World War Centenary Collection, a series of 4 die-cast vehicles which were involved in the global conflicts. And on the box set also says stand included with aircraft models. So again, most of you will recall that I've done a video of World War One already, when I actually happened to come across a Corgi omnibus that was used in World War One, and that famous old bull bus, and yes, which brought me onto the track of the rest of the models that I just had to have for my diorama, because after all, I just didn't want a ordinary little diorama. I want a diorama with a track on it so I can run a locomotive of the period and also have some vehicles of some sort in 1.76 scale, especially on that diorama. So without further ado, let's delve into the Corgi toys history. I recall my brothers having Corgi toys and the Corgi boxes, and I always wondered how a Corgi doggy can actually appear on a little motor car or little model car box But anyways, what did I know as a little girl growing up with all these things? Anyways, so yeah. So with Corgi toys, I think a person think of the DB5 James Bond vehicle that was the most produced toy in Corgi's history. But yeah, having said that, most of us are very familiar with Corgi toys and also the different scales that they actually did bring out. And at a later stage, obviously, the larger toys were the top market, so the smaller scales were not as often active anymore, and the need and supply for that was not really worth it for Corgi, and as it was battling to survive. But let's get into the history. So in 1933, Philip Ullman flees Nazi Germany, crossing into Britain to rebuild his toy company. He soon does a handshake with South African-born, German-educated Arthur Katz, both living in Britain, and saw that the market was open for toys. Ullman was not young anymore, and that knew out of experience what he knew, and that he knew what was going to work, and in his mind rebuilt it all, and that's all that mattered. So at Basiloki Limited, he was offered a workplace and work position. So the funds from Matoy was used to fund the new toy company and also to assist with other Jews fleeing Germany. For 6 years, the company employed 600 workers. Tin plate toys were the sole manufacturing toy at that point, and Ullman saw stable growth. But was this enough? That was the big question. In 1950, some changes inside Matoy led to the diecast steel toys moving away from the tin plate. Ullman took over the new company, renamed it with launch of the new toys, and also rebuilt the factory. King George in 1949 attended the official opening. The company named after the Welsh bred dog Corgi. So what made Corgi toys so unique? With the slapped on Corgi image on the logo, adopted the blue-yellow scheme boxing across the range, and the slogan, the ones with windows, in 1956. Dinky, the rival, had no windows. In 1958, the Dinky toys caught up. By this time, Ullman moved on to other things. The range saw so much growth, and the early 1960s was a very busy experimenting continuance. The first Glide-Matic suspension cars was built. Renault Floride, tiny seats, Dash, the Splendor, and the ambulance. All these vehicles launched with light source, fiber path, headlamp, creating the first illuminate headlights on their range of toys. Next, rear mirrors, opening doors, bonnets, and boots. Some models fitted with real Corgi dogs sitting in the parcel tray of the vehicle. A toy within a toy. In 1968, Mattel launches their new range in America. Hot Wheels is the new thing. Sales are amazingly cut off style for Corgi. In March of 1969, a fire destroys Corgi's warehouse. 1971, Philip Ullman passed away at the age of 88. The factory shut down. 900 workers are jobless. Katz tried to keep the beat of the manufacturing and keeping the boat afloat. 5 years slipped down to 1976 and 1977, and his son took over the management, working with new racing cars. Real costs just green to grow. In 1978, the biggest profit was done, and then a short status of being saved. The Lotus was the reason for this. Every other model car sales was almost non-existing. Toys would be forgotten and time to move on to something better for the home. A desperate attempt to rescue the company, the Dragon 32 sales were grounded, but the toy's financial loss kept growing, and the bank from assisting further also was stopped. 1983 debts, it is time to close, but Holy Grail command serious value. 1984, a new company buys them out, and Corgi is sold to Mattel. In 1989 and 1995 was bought out again, and 2008 Hornby bought Corgi, Mattel company. Same issue, manufacturing of both these companies' toys moved to China. Both started to crumble financially. Two toys just managing to survive under one brand. Economic condition is the hand cold factor of loss. The hard cold facts, everyone else were casualties. So that is just a little brief history and input from my Corgi collection that I've got now, and the reason why I settled for these models. And yes, very interesting. So stay tuned, as I will be bringing out the next video on the Corgi sopwithcamel, the World War I Centenary Collection air front, and then also the Corgi mail tank of famous Fraybentos. So thank you so much for everyone for joining me, and wishing you all the best. Take care. Regards, Elizabeth.